Welcome back. The Tokyo governor's race is in high heat right now. Another 10 days left. The election will be on the 31st of this month. Michael, a lot is going up. Bunshun had a report today on one of the front contenders.
I don't know if it's a report, and certainly the contender in this case, Torigoye Shuntaro, has already lawyered up and has already sent off a threat to Bunshun saying that they're going to file a police complaint against them for libel. So it is getting kind of hot under the collar here. So we liked last time Koike Yuriko, and she still is pretty much the front runner.
Right.
But the Torigoye phenomenon was building until this Bunshun incident.
Right.
I mean, he really does look like a candidate, and there are issues in terms of his age, his personal health, and the fact that he was chosen at the very last moment to represent the four-party alliance, which we've been talking about a lot in terms of the House of Councilors election. That has switched over to the Tokyo governor's race, and indeed, this is almost an extension of the House of Councilors fight, because they're talking about the Tokyo governor having a stance on security legislation or on any of these national issues that really don't have much to do with what's really at stake in terms of the governor.
Candidacy cut off last Monday. There are about 20 people who are throwing their hats in the ring. Really, only people are talking about 3 or 4 people.
Well, there are some really entertaining marginal candidates. In fact, a few of Japan's remaining ultra-rightists have spent the money in order to basically promote themselves during this intense period of time. There's one campaign poster which has one guy decked out fully in Japan Imperial military uniform with a sword and everything. He's like, what is this about?
Gets my vote.
Oh yeah, he's gonna at least score in the 3 digits. Yes, we're talking about basically about 3 individuals, and what's interesting about them is that they split the ruling coalition between them. We have Torigoye Shuntaro, who is running as the candidate of the four-party alliance, the DP, the Democratic Party, the Livelihood Party, the Socialists, and then the Communists. Well, and normally the Socialists and Communists don't work together, but they've worked together in the House of Councilors election.
And they have to pretend like they're working together now.
They have to pretend like they're working together now, and that's great. And it's easy for them because they just got out of an election where they did. However, the LDP is in shambles because they have one of their star players.
If we follow through with him and he loses, then what are we going to do with Koike?
That's right. Koike-san was one of their telegenic, easy to look at star players that they thought would bring out and have for the cameras, and she's running as an independent. And instead they have the mild-mannered and very studious Masuda, who is half an academic, half a government bureaucrat, and half just a milquetoast, running against her, making very fine statements, but right now, he's way behind. And there are members of the LDP who are siding with Koike, even though they've been ordered not to do so.
They've been ordered not to. You will be reprimanded if you do.
Reprimand it means frozen out in LDP language. And that's really dangerous and really something, because a lot of these people are really marginal. The LDP is not the LDP of the past.
Right.
It's not a collection place for people with a great deal of ambition and a great deal of talent. Those folks have hived off during the last few decades to create what was now the opposition parties, like the DP. The core that's left is not really the top of the drawer. They're not top-notch people necessarily. So they really need the reputation of the LDP behind them.
Right.
But there are folks who are just going off on their own.
But even the Prime Minister didn't show up to promote his candidate.
Well, the Prime Minister right now is taking a well-earned golf vacation. And you can read about it every day. And you say, wow, he did another day of golf. He did do the national security angle bit of when there was this launch of North Korean missiles. He stopped his golf game and then he resumed it. it's been really actually interesting in terms of his time off. He's actually not golfing with his political and economic allies. He's actually golfing with longtime friends. So he's really off the stage, which is kind of weird because Tokyo matters.
Tokyo really does matter. And it's not just the prime minister. I mean, other members of his cabinet have not really been honing in and, we stand behind this candidate.
Well, of course they're exhausted from the House of Councilors campaign.
They're hedging their bets.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'd really like to, because the House of Councilors, it's at a brutal time of the year. We either have absolutely torrential rainstorms from the rainy season or absolutely ferocious hot days. And both the Prime Minister and the head of the DP, they're chestnut brown right now because of the times that they spent out campaigning. It's really physically quite demanding. So I would like to forgive people.
Okay, you can see how brutal this campaign is even now. The front contender, Koike Yuriko, her voice is really, you can see it's beginning to start to crack at times. And also Torigoe, he's not out in the bushes all the time. I mean, he probably has 2 or 3 campaign stumps a day. And compared to Koike, that's huge.
Well, the thing is that Torigoe now has this problem of these exposés that are being printed. They just came out today in not only Shukan Bunshun, which is this story about him having invited a 20-year-old young woman to his villa.
That's scandalous.
Yeah. 20 years old is not only the age of consent, it's actually you're a legal adult.
But she's never been kissed, Michael.
That's according to Bunshun.
Is that unbelievable that they would actually print something like that? I mean, this is a creation of a meme, of a whole story.
I mean, yeah, but that they actually describe it as a 20-year-old college student who's never been kissed. What did she do in high school?
I have no idea.
I mean, just and he's already filed.
73 years old.
I don't know what this.
But you look, the person who is going to be the next governor, it's not an administrative post, although it looks like an administrative post. It's a PR post, and somebody that's 73 years old is not. I don't think has a lot of the energy to, number one, run through a campaign, but also hold that post for a long period of time.
Okay, there is that aspect to it, especially in light of the fact that his challenger, or his main challenger, Koike-san, is almost a decade younger. There is that aspect to it. But nevertheless, this is a land where people live a long time, and he'll certainly be taken care of in terms of his health. He did have to take time off from the campaign, though, when suddenly he was non compos mentis. He was somehow he collapsed during it. So
what's our policy?
We do have to worry about the health aspects. But then again, how long is he going to last? Is the question. Right. I mean, this is a post. I mean, there should be a blurb. Friends don't let friends run for Tokyo governor, because this is a post that has swallowed reformers twice in a row now.
Did you see what the DP General Secretary described the policy formation of the coalition in support of him?
I haven't
glass.
seen it. Oh yes,
glass. It's like blowing glass. It's like creating a
delicate glass sculpture. Yes.
That gives me confidence.
It gives me a great deal of confidence in the durability of the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing is that you're right. The position is very much PR. And the reason why some of the LDP members are, in fact, defecting is that they see, okay, we can either pick the bureaucrat old man or the woman to be governor of the world's most wealthy city and the next host for the Olympic Games. Which way should we go with this? And they are gravitating toward Koike-san. That's their decision, and their party will punish them, no question about it.
Doesn't there come a point, though, when the LDP might just say, look, the die is cast, we're going to switch horses, so that when she is governor, at least we have a little bit more of a friendly relationship?
We don't know. We know that the LDP hung on to Inose, hung on to Masazoe for as long as they felt that they were useful. But when they no longer felt they were useful, they dumped them.
Right.
And the dumping was over, again, actions that were not illegal and for which neither of the two gentlemen has ever faced any charges. This is just simply things that just looked funny.
Well, it's politics, and it seems to me that the fractures in the Abe administration are beginning to show. And, you know, how this rolls out, how the LDP decides to parcel its affection, we've got other troubles that are coming up within members of the cabinet who are saying, for example, you know, Abenomics does not work publicly. So there could be some real fractious events coming up.
So in a sense, the theory driving this pick by the DP and its three allies, that this is really just a continuation of the national conversation set up by the House of Councillors, might be in fact true. And indeed, this does have implications for the national political electorate.
You know, when people vote for governor of Tokyo, there are certain block votes that vote en masse. Do you know, can you share any insight into how those block votes are distributed? They're pretty tight. They vote in block, and then there are a lot of unaffiliated voters, probably 40% or more, right?
Well, that's the thing, that we know that generally the LDP voters are small business, at least in Tokyo, and big business, white collar. And then we have, of course, the Komeito, a large group of Soka Gakkai members living in Tokyo. Soka Gakkai is, in fact, incorporated inside Tokyo. And so,
not far from here.
Well, they have their registration here, which is why they are so intent whenever there's a Tokyo Assembly election that there be no other elections around that time. So those votes are solid, supposedly. But then we have in Tokyo, of course, the professional classes. We have, of course, all kinds of people who are either in labor unions or not in labor unions, in small workshops, whatever, who are basically available. And that's what Koike is going after.
That's what everybody's going after.
Well, Masuda doesn't have a chance with those folks because he's never going to be able to offer them anything more than what already exists. And in fact, people have been saying, you know, Masuda has been one of the persons who has been arguing most strongly.
Take it out of Tokyo!
Exactly, to move business, to move government out of Tokyo and move it into the hinterlands, into the non-Tokyo prefectures.
Not part of the job.
That he is going to be in charge of Tokyo. Some people say, that's not the guy we need. Yeah. That's not the guy we want. We want someone who wants to either enlarge Tokyo's footprint or at least manage what's there. But the idea that he's going to be tossing stuff out, that's not really helpful at election time.
Right. Another 10 days left in this election campaign. Please stay tuned. We're going to keep an eye on it and report to you next week.